They've come. I am coming. Let them come.
Yo, what is up guys? Welcome back to another movie review. Today, I got another fun movie to review, Transformers Rise of the Beasts. So, I kind of have a love-hate relationship with the Transformers movies. On the one hand, they're very nostalgic. I remember being like 10, 12 years old and going to the late showings of the Transformers with my dad and brother, and I was always excited to see them. And they are a great like cinematic experience. But on the other side, they're kind of corny, redundant, and their plot is very much lacking. But I think they make up for that with the epic CGI and epic fights and just really good like voices. I love the voices of the Transformers. So I was excited to see how this one would turn out. This is technically a separate universe than the older movies. This and Bumblebee from 2018 are like separated from the Michael Bay movies, which were the originals, but I think they can kind of tie in together if they want them to. Like, you don't really need to see the other ones to like be able to understand the new ones, and then you don't really need to see the new ones to understand the old ones. I mean, to be honest, there never was a clear storyline for any of the movies anyway. It's just some of the actors stayed the same. But besides that, I was excited to see this movie just to see if it would be like the old ones, or if it could be a really great movie, plus all the good stuff that the Transformers did previously. But like I said, Transformer movies definitely lack in the plot area, and I actually had like a whole notes app of complaints I wrote down during the movie because there was just a lot of stuff that stood out. But before we get into the negatives, I do like to start with the positives. And before that, I want to go over the plot just to kind of give you guys a basic idea of what happens in the movie. So, spoiler warning from here on out. I'm going to spoil the movie, just letting you know. But the nice thing is the plot, not very complicated, so it's a pretty quick summary. Basically, you have the Primals who are on another planet that resembles Earth, and the Terracons, the evil Transformers, come to steal a key from the Primals that can like bring their leader Unicron, and it can help them transport to other galaxies and eat other planets. So the Primals are protecting the key, and they bring it to Earth where they separate it, and then the Primals, they go into hiding, and the Terracons are still looking for the key. And then we flash forward to 1994, and the Transformers, the Autobots, are in hiding, and they don't know about the Primals, and the key gets discovered, and basically it's just a cat and mouse game to find the key and to keep the key from the Terracons, so that the Terracons don't bring it to Unicron. And I mean, that might sound a little complicated if you haven't seen the movie, but it's really just like they're just trying to fetch the magical item the whole time. Like, that's literally all the Transformers movies do, which I'll get into later about one of the complaints. But it's a pretty basic plot summary, and not a lot really goes on in the movie, but it is filled with really cool fight scenes and CGI, so it makes up for it. I'll go into the positives here first. Like I said, CGI, these Transformers movies is amazing. Like, I remember seeing the first ones. I don't know when the first one came out. It was like 2007 or around then. And for the time, man, the Transformers looked amazing. They really like have done them really well. And like the whole transforming in the movies is great. Like for that time period, it's amazing, and it's better than a lot of CGI nowadays. And they definitely stayed consistent with the CGI in this movie. The Transformers look good. They look great. And the fighting is pretty cool and epic. And like, they're really made for the theaters because the sound effects and just the like music just is really emphasized and like hits when you're in the theater. So it probably isn't as good if you're not in the theater. So they're definitely made to be a cinematic experience. I'm not saying that like it's a cinematic like movie, like it's this super complicated like deep plot, but it definitely is more enjoyable in the theater. And then another thing I really enjoy is the voice actors for the Transformers. They all have really epic sounding voices, and just the sound design in them is amazing. The same actor for Optimus Prime voiced him again. His name is Peter Cullen. He's a legend. As far as I know, he was the original voice of Optimus Prime in the 80s animated show, and he kind of stayed with the movies. And I feel bad because they definitely don't give him the best lines to work with, but he still makes it sound really epic, and he's done a great job. He's definitely like above the movies level, but I'm glad they kept him. And then also big surprise, I didn't realize that Pete Davidson was one of the main characters. He voices Mirage, and normally I think Pete Davidson's like really just over the top and annoying and obnoxious, but he is funny. And in this movie, he was a complete opposite. Like he was hilarious. He was funny, but he wasn't like his usual annoying self, and I really liked him. I think he played the part really well, and he had great chemistry with the main character, Noah. He's one of the humans, and I don't remember really any of the other names of the humans. They're all very like forgettable, which I'll get into later as well. But I did like the chemistry between Mirage, and then another like celebrity voice actor was Liza Koshy. She voiced RC, she's like a YouTuber from back in the day, so I was surprised to see that, but she did a good job voicing her as well. So the Autobots always have really cool sounding voice actors, and then the like Decepticons or Terracons also always have really good voices, and they're really menacing, and I like how they make them scary looking and like actual scary, like formidable villains, because a lot of times the Autobots get their butts kicked and the Decepticons or Terracons look like they're gonna win, but then obviously the good guy always wins in the end. Another few positives I'd say is I'm glad they kept it to like around 2 hours, because I feel like the older ones, I mean, 2 hours is still pretty long for a movie, but I'm usually a fan of longer movies, at least get your money worth. But it didn't feel too like drawn out. They kept it moving along, and usually I feel like the other ones kind of dragged on a lot. And then, like I said, the main character, Noah, forget the actor's name, but I've seen him in some other stuff and I really liked him, and I thought he did a really good job, because usually a downside to these like Transformers or robot or monster movies like Godzilla, they try to balance like the human side with the monsters, and it's like a lot of times people just want to see the monster. They don't really care about the boring like human side characters, and usually like detracts from the action and like the epicness. You just get these boring humans running around like getting like just kicked to the side and like avoiding the monster. It's just like, it's unnecessary, and I always see that a lot. Like Godzilla had that. Like I'm pretty sure in the first Godzilla, like the recent one, Godzilla doesn't show up for like an hour and a half into the movie, and it's all just human, like boring human interactions. Like you can have a few good characters, I think, that add to the story, but I don't know, the majority of the time I just want to be seeing like the Transformers or the cool like monster or whatever that the movie is based on. But the main character did do a good job. He was well acted, and he was likable and had like a solid backstory, which you don't usually get from these movies, so you had a reason to root for him. So going into like negative territory now, I have a list, so I'm gonna kind of go down the list. It was just stuff I was writing down as I was watching it, and normally I'm not like critiquing movies like that, but I just thought it'd be funny to kind of point out like some of the stupid stuff. And I understand like they're just supposed to be epic like action movies, not supposed to like do a deep criticism of Transformers, but I just want to point out some of the funny stuff, like the one-liners. Like I mean, they always sound really cool, but it's just like you can't help but laugh at them during the movie. It's like Optimus Prime says, "Let them come," or "They have come," or "The Terracons have come," and it just sounds really like sus and funny. And then like one thing they kept saying during one of the fights is, "Get the key! I have the key! Get the key!" The key, they were like, it was the object they were chasing after, and like it felt like so stagnant. Like there was like, they were just in the middle of a fight saying like the same lines over and over again. It almost felt like a video game character that like you go up to talk to them and they just keep repeating the same lines. Like they really just didn't add any depth to the fighting, and it just felt very much like one-liner type things. And another complaint, like I said, I didn't enjoy the actor who played Noah, the main character, but the other main character, the chick, I don't know, I felt like she was very like over the top, her acting. Like she always had like the wide eyes and like scared and just like running around. I had no idea what she was doing, and like I feel like she should have been a little more like adapted to it, because I mean she was a smart character. The way they set her up, she was pretty smart. She seemed like she knew what she was doing, but then as soon as they go to the Autobots and get involved in a fight, it just devolves to them like running around like a chicken without their head cut off. Like they're just like, they seem pointless. So it's like, why are they there? What are they gonna do? How are they gonna contribute? And I mean, I did like the kind of like adventure sequences of like them trying to find the key and like down in the cave, but overall I wasn't a huge fan of this character. And then yeah, I'm just gonna go down the list. Like her and just the other side characters were just like, it was just, you get like, they're so forgettable. You don't remember the names. I mean, I could have looked it up, but I don't remember her name. The only one I remember is the main character. And yeah, it's just like they need to focus more on the Transformers and not them. Another thing with like the one-liners is the action poses. Like they'll have these moments where it just is like freeze frames on like the Transformers standing like for an action shot, and it just feels very like almost like it's just for marketing. Like they just put that shot in the movie so they could have a cool like shot for advertising. And there was one scene where the Transformers, like 3 of them walk up and say something in one spot, and then it cuts to another scene, and then it comes back to the Transformers, and they walk up to the same spot again and say another thing. And it's like they were already standing there, so they walked back and then walked up again, and they literally just like walked up to say the line. Like there was no reason for them moving. I just thought that was a funny moment. And then kind of going back to the beginning, you do get like the ancient Transformers lore history, which is like a big thing in these movies, like because they try to explain how the Transformers have been there since like the dawn of time. And I thought they did like the primals thing like well, like they started on another Earth and they came to Earth, but then they start like trying to like create this like real history in that world, and it's just like they throw out a bunch of these like random cultures and buzzwords, and it's just like we don't need any of this backstory. Just get to the Transformers. Like it did take them like 30 good minutes to like get to like the modern day Transformer fighting and just like introducing them. It took them a while, so they spent a lot of time on like the human backstory, which like I understand they want to give you a reason to like care about the human characters, but I really don't. Like they're just, that's not why I'm going to see the movie. Big thing I did not like was Bumblebee went down for the count like very early on in the movie. So he basically got like incapacitated, and he wasn't there for pretty much the whole movie until the final fight scene. And I really didn't like that because Bumblebee is like a really cool, like interesting character, and he's very unique. And he just like his quips with the radio, the way he talks through the radio, I just felt like he was missing from this movie. And I know he had his own movie in 2018. I didn't see that one, so I'm sure he shined in that movie, but I wish they would have had him more in this movie. And then it was a very like convenient plot point to have him show up at the final battle. Like it just seemed very convenient, and like they were just like, I was like, why'd you have to kill him if you were just gonna bring him back for that fight scene at the end? And then speaking of that end fight scene, and this was throughout the movie as well, before they would like get to the action, they would always like group up and like explain the plan. And I really don't like that in movies, like where they show the plan, like you visualize it before it happens and then they go and do it, because it feels repetitive. It's like you hear the plan and then they go and do the plan. It's like you could have just shown the plan instead of wasting time explaining that. It just feels redundant. I do like how they always give Optimus his like motivational time to speak. He gives his motivational speeches to the group. He brings everyone together. So that kind of is like when he explains the plan and he gets the troops going. But honestly, like another thing I have, like Optimus Prime, another problem I have is that he like is supposed to be motivating and inspirational, but in the movies he's really just, he seems like a cranky like old man who just is like angry, and he's supposed to be like an inspirational leader, which they kind of explain like how he's lost so many people and he's just trying to protect the Autobots. So I do like how they flesh him out a little bit more, but I just, it's annoying how long it takes for him to like finally like fit his character and like accept that the humans have to work with them. Like he's always like so resistant to the humans, and I'm like, get over it. Like it doesn't seem very much like in line with his character. And then a few more complaints. I don't want to like just crap on this movie and bore you guys, but the final CGI fight, there's always like a big final CGI fight now in these action movies. It actually was really cool, like the fighting, but one thing that they always do and it annoys me is because they pick like dark, ugly gray background. So the sky was like stormy, which I get, it like fit what was happening, but it's just not as pleasant to look at. And I think the reason they do that is it's easier to hide some of the CGI when it's darker, and like they don't have to like make every single detail like perfect when they can kind of hide it with shadows and stuff. So I understand like I understand that on like a practical level that sometimes the style has to suffer, but I'm just kind of sick of these like ugly CGI endings where it's just gray skies. But besides that, the end fight actually was pretty epic and cool, and how they took out Scourge. And then Bumblebee showing up was pretty epic as well. He jumps out of the plane, he got his cool action scene, and then Mirage sacrificing himself and turning into like a suit for Noah to wear. So I mean, I did enjoy the final CGI battle. It just was like, I guess, one of my nitpicks of that. That kind of wraps up my complaints about the movie. One other thing I was gonna say, and I already mentioned it, was like the whole time they're just talking about get the key, find the key, bring the key. Like it's a recurring theme in these Transformers movies, because I mean it's been a while since I've seen the other one, but I remember they were chasing after the Allspark, which was like the magical object they needed in the other one. And then in one of the Transformers movies they're trying to find a sword, and the whole time they're just chasing after the sword. Like in movies it's called a MacGuffin. It's like the object that's like necessary for the plot to move forward, and sometimes like that storytelling just gets boring. It's like the good guys are chasing after the object and so are the bad guys, and the good guys are trying to defend it from the bad guys. Like it gets old after a while, but I think this movie had enough style and like coolness to it that you could kind of overlook that and still enjoy the movie. And I know I just kind of ranted about it to you guys for a while, but I genuinely did enjoy the movie. It was a fun night out. I don't know if it's worth like a $17 movie ticket. We always go on Tuesday when it's half off, so it's definitely more worth it to me. But if you're not like a huge Transformers fan, maybe wait until it goes on to streaming. But overall, I actually did enjoy the movie. I don't want to be too like positive, because I do know what a good movie is, and this wasn't like peak movie, but it also wasn't the worst. Like, and I could still enjoy a fun action movie here and there. So I haven't done like a out of 10 rating on the last few movies, but I think I'd give this one like a 5.5 out of 10. And I'm gonna try to remember to do my ratings from here on out on other reviews. But yeah, 5.5 seems fair. It wasn't bad and it wasn't great, and it was slightly better than just average. Like it was a fun time, and I mean Transformers are pretty epic and cool, so you can't go wrong with a Transformers movie. So anyways, that's gonna be a wrap on the video. Hope you guys did enjoy this review. If you do enjoy the reviews, I'm going to have movie reviews coming out pretty much every week for the rest of the summer. We got a great summer slate of movies coming out, so you don't want to miss that. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Peace.